Stick around as we count down the top 10 cars that should have never left the drawing board. Number 1. The Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme Diesel. Picture this. It's 1979, and Oldsmobile is revving up to revolutionize the luxury car market with their shiny new diesel engine. Gas prices were soaring, and everyone wanted better fuel economy. Oldsmobile thought they had the perfect solution: a diesel engine in their beloved Cutlass Supreme. Sounds great, right? Well, not so fast. Before you could say, "Fill her up," customers were flooding dealerships with complaints. Their fancy new Cutlass Supremes were breaking down left and right, some after just a few thousand miles. What was going on? It turns out Oldsmobile had rushed their diesel dream to market. They took their trusty gasoline V8 and tried to turn it into a diesel engine overnight. Bad idea. These engines couldn't handle the extra pressure, leading to blown head gaskets, cracked blocks, and enough smoke to make a fog machine jealous. Number 2. The Ford Pinto. Back in 1971, Ford was in a race against time. They needed a subcompact car to compete with the imports, and they needed it yesterday. Enter the Pinto, Ford's answer to the small car craze. But here's the kicker. Ford rushed this little guy to market in just 2 years instead of the usual 3.5. Talk about cutting corners. Speaking of cutting, that's exactly what Ford did with the Pinto's safety features. They had a strict budget, no more than 2,000 pounds and $2,000 per car. Sounds like a recipe for disaster, right? Well, it was. The Pinto soon started making headlines, and not for winning any races. The problem? That rear-mounted fuel tank. In even low-speed collisions, the Pinto had a nasty habit of turning into a fireball on wheels. And get this, Ford knew about it. They were aware of the fire hazard but decided to roll the dice anyway. Talk about playing with fire! Number 3. The Cadillac Cimarron. It's 1982, and Cadillac's got a wild idea. They're going to jump into the compact luxury car market with both feet. But hold on to your hats, folks, because this story's about to take a turn that'll have car enthusiasts laughing their tailpipes off. Cadillac's grand plan? Take a Chevrolet Cavalier, slap on a Cadillac badge, and call it a day. They named this beauty the Cimarron, but it wasn't fooling anyone. One reviewer hit the nail on the head asking, "Wait a minute, isn't that a rebadged Chevy Cavalier with a new grille and a leather interior?" Now, you might be thinking, surely they made some big changes, right? Well, not really. The differences were about as noticeable as a whisper at a rock concert. But here's the kicker. Cadillac had the nerve to charge $12,000 for this ride, while you could nab a Cavalier for a cool $8,000. Talk about highway robbery. Number 4. The Edsel Corsair. Remember when we talked about Ford playing with fire? Well, in 1957, they decided to light the biggest marketing bonfire in automotive history. Ford was about to unveil the Edsel, a brand new car line they hyped up like it was the second coming of the Model T. They poured a whopping $250 million into marketing this bad boy. That's a lot of clams, even by today's standards. Ford dealers were so secretive about the Edsel, they kept it hidden like it was some kind of alien spaceship. People's imaginations went wild, but when the curtain finally dropped, instead of oohs and ahs, all Ford got was a collective huh? The Edsel's design left folks scratching their heads. That front grille? It looked like a chrome-plated toilet seat. And don't get us started on the TeleTouch transmission. Buttons on the steering wheel to change gears? Talk about confusing. Number 5. The Saturn Ion. Remember Saturn? That quirky car brand GM launched back in 1985? Well, by 2003, they were ready to shake things up with their new compact car, the Ion. But hold on to your seatbelts, folks, because this ride was about to get bumpy. Saturn had always been proud of their unique plastic body panels. They were supposed to be lightweight and resistant to dents. Sounds great, right? Well, not so fast. When the Ion hit the streets, reviewers weren't exactly singing its praises. In fact, they were comparing its interior to a cheap toy. Can you imagine spending your hard-earned cash on a car that felt like it came from the dollar store? But the problems didn't stop there. Those plastic panels that Saturn was so proud of, they had gaps big enough to lose your keys in. One reviewer even joked that if you kicked the car, your foot might get stuck between the panels. Talk about a design flaw. Number 6. The Chevrolet Vega. It's 1970, and Chevrolet is gearing up to take on those pesky import compacts with their shiny new Vega. But hold your horses, folks. This little car was about to rust its way into automotive infamy. Now, you might be wondering, why were brand new Vegas developing rust spots before they even left the dealership? Well, buckle up, because this story is rustier than an old nail in a rainstorm. Chevy thought they had struck gold with their innovative aluminum engine design. It was lightweight, fuel-efficient, and cutting-edge. Sounds great, right? Wrong. These engines had a nasty habit of overheating, which led to all sorts of problems. The cylinders would warp, coolant would leak, and before you knew it, your shiny new Vega was leaving a trail of oil wherever it went. But the real kicker? The rust. Oh boy, the rust. These cars were rusting faster than ice cream melts on a hot summer day. Some folks joked that Vegas came pre-rusted from the factory. It was so bad, you could practically watch the rust spread in real time. The Vega's reputation as a troublesome rust bucket didn't just hurt Chevrolet's wallet, it completely changed the game in the compact car market. Suddenly, American buyers were giving those imports from Toyota and Honda a second look. Who could blame them? After all, a car that doesn't turn into a pile of rust is generally preferred. Number 7. The Yugo. It's 1985, and America's about to get a taste of Eastern European engineering with the cheapest new car on the market. Enter the Yugo, a pint-sized import that promised big savings. But why were Yugo owners soon spending more time pushing their cars than driving them? The story of the Yugo in America is a tale of big dreams and even bigger disappointments. It all started when an American businessman struck a deal with the Yugoslav government to bring these little cars across the pond. The idea was simple. Offer a no-frills car at a rock-bottom price. Sounds great, right? Well, as it turns out, you get what you pay for. Yugo owners quickly found themselves dealing with a laundry list of problems. Electrical failures? Check. Engine issues? You bet. Rust. Oh boy, was there rust! Consumer Reports had a field day with this one, highlighting all the ways these cars were more trouble than they were worth. And let's talk about performance. Remember when cars used to go from 0 to 60? Well, the Yugo went from 0 to maybe? One reviewer joked that it took so long to reach highway speeds, you'd think the car was crawling there on its hands and knees. Number 8. The AMC Pacer. Buckle up, folks. It's 1975, and AMC is about to shake up the automotive world with a car that looks like it rolled straight out of a sci-fi movie. Enter the Pacer, affectionately dubbed the fish bowl on wheels. Why? Well, this little oddball had more glass than your average greenhouse. AMC had a wild idea: create a car that was wide but short. They called it the wide body design, and boy, did they mean wide. The Pacer was nearly as wide as a full-size car but shorter than most compacts. AMC thought this would give passengers more room and better visibility. Sounds great in theory, right? But here's the catch. All that glass made the Pacer heavier than a lead balloon. And don't get us started on the fuel economy. With gas prices skyrocketing, Pacer owners were feeling the pinch at the pump. Plus, parallel parking this wide boy? Let's just say it wasn't exactly a breeze. Number 9. The Ford Mustang II. It's 1974, and Ford's facing a big problem. The muscle car era is fading fast, and the oil crisis has everyone thinking small. What's a pony car to do? Enter the Mustang II, Ford's attempt to keep the stallion running in a new era. But hold your horses, because this little pony was about to cause quite a stir. Ford took their beloved Mustang and put it on a serious diet. They based it on the Pinto platform, yeah, that Pinto, and shrunk it down to compact car size. Mustang purists were not happy. Where was the power, the performance, the pony car spirit? Instead of roaring V8s, the Mustang II offered a wheezy 4-cylinder or a slightly less wheezy 6-cylinder. The V8 option? It came later and was about as exciting as lukewarm coffee. Handling? Let's just say it wasn't winning any races around the curves. But here's the twist. Despite all the enthusiast hate, the Mustang II sold like hotcakes. In fact, 1974 was the Mustang's best sales year since 1967. It turns out that in the middle of a fuel crisis, a lot of folks wanted a car that looked cool but didn't guzzle gas like there was no tomorrow. So while die-hard Mustang fans were crying into their motor oil, Ford was laughing all the way to the bank. The Mustang II might not have been the pony car of dreams, but it kept the Mustang name alive during some tough times, and sometimes survival is the sweetest victory of all. Number 10. The Pontiac Aztec. It's 2001, and Pontiac is about to unleash a vehicle that'll have people talking for years to come, but not in the way they hoped. Enter the Aztec, Pontiac's attempt to shake up the SUV market with a bold new crossover. Sounds exciting, right? Well, hold on to your hats, because this story takes a wild turn. Why did the Aztec end up on every ugliest car ever list? It all comes down to a classic case of too many cooks in the kitchen. Pontiac used a design-by-committee approach, and the result was interesting, to say the least. The Aztec looked like a bizarre mix of car and SUV, with angles and curves that left people scratching their heads. But here's the kicker. The Aztec actually had some cool features. It could transform into a camper, complete with a built-in air mattress and tent attachment. Talk about thinking outside the box. Unfortunately, these neat tricks were completely overshadowed by its, let's say, unique appearance. GM had high hopes for the Aztec, expecting to sell up to 70,000 units a year. But reality hit hard, and they struggled to move even 27,000. This flop didn't just hurt Pontiac's pride, it was a nail in the coffin for a brand already on shaky ground. Who knew one car could cause so much trouble?